Alright, not to confuse everybody, but I got two debt collector video series going on here. One involves a law firm called Portnoy Law Associates, and one is a law firm called Pearson Hughes. And for Pearson Hughes, we did the intro one. That's the how to deal with debt collectors intro. This is going to be part two to that. And I'm going to give you an overview of how these things work, basically. So, give an overview of this case. I'm located in Aston, Pennsylvania. So you got the Township of Aston, which is a municipal corporation. It's not the physical land. So in other words, Aston is a geographic physical region that you'll designate on a map, okay? But then you have the Township of Aston. Well, if you're of something, you can't be the thing you're of. So it's Township of Aston. They're not Aston, okay? They're a corporation that is masquerading as a government that provides legal services, basically, I say, at the barrel of a gun. In other words, pay us or we're going to do these bad things to you. So this stems back to last year. They had filed a claim against me. They're this petty Faggiolo attorney firm that they deal with called Pearson Hughes. I'm sorry, it's Pearson Hughes. That is the Township of Aston's debt collector. So these are petty Faggiolo collection firms. They're parasites. Okay, so the township, for their little extortion rackets that they have, they're claiming that you owe them taxes. Well, guess what? They can't sue you in a normal court proceeding, in a standard legal court proceeding. They can't sue you to collect the taxes because there's no cause of action to bring you into court. There's enough numbers. There's no law on the books that gives them standing to bring you into court and sue you. So what they do is they devise this scheme. They get these petty Faggiolo collection firms who abuse the people because these collection firms, they stampede the law, the actual real tax law and the actual real laws. They stampede them. So these law firms, they can't bring you into court under a valid cause of action. They can't get you into court. So what they do to you is they send you these claims in the mail. Hey, pay us this money or we're going to do these bad things to you. Well, that's called mail fraud. That's extortion. And we've addressed that. You've seen how we address that. So being they can't get you in a normal court proceeding, what they'll do is they go to the local municipal court, which these are private courts. These are not courts of record. These are not common law courts. These are private courts, okay? And these attorneys run to these private courts and they create liens out of thin air. But when I say out of thin air, it means at the stroke of his pen, the attorney creates the lien. Because for there to be a lien, there must first be a debt. And if there's a debt, there must have been a trial by jury where it was a judge that you owed a debt to somebody. If you never had a trial and they never decided that you owed a debt, then this petty Faggiolo attorney, he can't create a lien. So in other words, you think about these steps, A, B, C, and D, and they're jumping right to D. They're jumping to the D letter there to create the lien, and they bypassed A, B, and C. And A, B, and C has to do with your due process rights under the Constitution. You have a right to you've got to be given notice and opportunity to defend yourself. Okay, that's due process, and you're entitled to a trial by jury in all matters, both criminal and civil. You're entitled to a trial by jury. But they're bypassing this when they're going to these local municipal courts. And what they're doing is the attorney's creating a lien out of thin air, and he's submitting it under the rules of civil procedure. And you're going to get a notice, and the numbers might be different from state to state, but here it's Rule 236. Pursuant to Rule 236, a judgment's been issued against you. And the funny part about the judgment is it's not signed by any man or woman or judge. Nobody signed it. It came from the office. So an office made a judgment against you. Well, that's about as outside a legal process as you can get. That's not legal process. That's a simulation of legal process. So these petty Faggiolo municipal courts send you a letter saying, hey, there's a judgment issued against you. And then in Pennsylvania, they have something called a writ or cephasius, where if they file it, you've got 15 days to sort of rebut the claim. all illegal because there can't be a writ without an actual judgment. There's no real judgment. So this whole thing's a sham. These whole things are shams. And I just want to give you the background of what they're doing because they did one of these to me against my house in Aston where I live. And I got this firm, this Pearson Hughes. I got this basically phony judgment. They filed a phony lien in a court, and I get this thing from the County of Delaware court saying, hey, there's a judgment against you. Yeah, right. So right away I fire off affidavits, shoot them over affidavits, and also make a notice of claim against Mr. Pierce, the attorney who did this, for the full amount of the house, $350,000, estimated value of the house. I don't know what it is now with the COVID stuff and the house prices going through the roof, but at the time it was roughly about $350,000. So I submitted a claim against Mr. Petty Faggiolo for $350,000. Well, the case sort of went into the ether. Never heard anything back. He never filed a writ to try and collect on the money, and it just sort of died. That was way back in September. So recently, at the beginning of this month, when I went up to my one rental house in Ridley Park, they got the wrong address. They don't even know where to send stuff anymore. They sent a mailing to my tenant in Ridley Park for my house here. And it was another claim from this same Petty Faggiolo law firm. And I really think it has to do with a combination of the properties, the two properties I have in Ridley. They were my parents' properties, and when they passed away, they passed down to me. And I'm under no obligation to put those to correct the records on those properties with the public record, with the county. I don't know the county any duties to go correct anything with the county. I don't have to do anything with the county. They're my properties. I can prove they're my properties. And if anybody came at me in court, I'd destroy them because I'm superior claim on the properties. Nobody can claim the properties. So it's a combination of that, and I think once you're in the system, basically, I call it the monkey processing system. Basically, it spits your claim out. You know, you're just, if somebody didn't take you out of the system, it's just going to spit you out again, and the next attorney up's going to get your claim, and his name's going to go on, and you're going to get that mailing basically saying, hey, you owe us this money. You owe our clients this money. If you don't pay it, we're going to do these bad things to you. Well, this is not legal process, okay? This is simulation legal process. And a lot of people might be asking, what's legal process? Legal process is if I've got a claim against you, I've got to sue you. I've got to go file a complaint against you, and I've got to submit a copy of a summons that the clerk will stamp, and then I take my complaint and I take my summons and I give it to a process server, and he's going to charge me about $100 to go serve it to each party. So I give the process server about $100, and he goes and serves it to the party that damaged or harmed me. And that's called legal process. And then we have a court case. We actually go through a court case, and in Pennsylvania and even in the federal Constitution, it gives you a right to trial by jury in all matters. So I have a right to call for a trial by jury in all matters. That would be standard legal process. Anything other than that is a simulation of legal process. So why would he have process servers that I have to pay $100 to if I could just slap a 50-cent stamp on an envelope and mail it to somebody I got a claim against to bring him into court? I could save myself $99.50. But that's not how legal process is initiated. It's initiated through the process server. They get the copy of the complaint, they get a copy of the summons. So we know that that's a simulation of legal process right there. And then the second part of the simulation of legal process is you've got an attorney speaking for a corporate fiction that does not exist. And when I say it doesn't exist, no Mr. or Mrs. Township of Aston are coming into court and testifying here. So now I got an attorney claiming he's speaking for a corporate fiction. That's fraud. That's fraud. There's no other way to look at it. It's fraud. Okay. He doesn't have any jurisdiction in the matter, the attorney. He's got no standing. He's got no personal knowledge of anything in the matter. He's an interloper. He's got no idea what's going on here. But he just thinks I'm one of the monkeys, and he's going to basically thump me with this process that they've been using on the other monkeys. So this whole thing goes down. Told you I filed my papers, my affidavits with the law firm. This goes away, and then I get this other notice, like I said, that hey, they're trying to collect for the next year now. They want to collect their extortion fee. So right off the bat, what I did is I actually backtracked. I've already got the original attorney in default, and I've already got a notice of claim against him for $350,000. So over the course of the past, 8-9 months, I've learned a lot of other things. I've learned the importance of bar grievances. Now, I knew about bar grievances before, but I was under the impression that well, I'm just going to submit this bar grievance and they're going to throw it out because they're his buddies. They're not going to take it seriously. They're not going to reprimand him. And through the people I've come to know and learn from, I've come to learn that bar grievances are actually very lethal. Because though his buddies may do that and state that my grievance is, it's frivolous, it has no merit, what they didn't tell you and what I didn't know at the time was the attorney's going to have to report it to his insurance company that had a bar grievance filed against him. That's going to ring his insurance bell. It's probably going to send his rates up, okay? So I backtracked. Now, even though I had a notice of claim filed against this attorney back in September 2020, last week I went back and I filed an actual mail fraud complaint against this guy. And I also filed a mail fraud complaint against them, and I filed and I went back and I revisited the bar grievance. Because, listen, there's no statute of limitations on fraud. And what this bar attorney did was fraud. So I went back and I filed a bar grievance against him. And I also filed a bar grievance against his buddy, because they're partners, Pearson Hughes. And Mr. Hughes also got a bar grievance filed against him. Okay, so this is my buddy Michael here. This is just the Pennsylvania standard form that you're going to fill out. And he's in District 2. So these are pretty simple. It's got your information here. It's got the attorney's information. And they ask you, did you ever file anything in this matter before? No. This is my first time regarding the bar complaint. And they're going to give you a little box here. There's no way you're going to get your information in here. So I just use this as a sort of an enclosure to show them what I actually have attached, what I've submitted. And it's their form, this attorney form here. It's a statement of complaint supported by a declaration of fact. A declaration of fact, to get at, is almost like an affidavit. It's except I don't have to go to a notary to do that. It's just a declaration that I do under penalty of perjury. So that's my statement of fact. And I also took his original pleading, if you can call it that. That's what he submitted to the court. That's where he forged the lien. That's the paperwork where he forged the lien. So I took that thing and I basically outline it with boxes. I'll show it to you, and I'll number it, and I will go in there and I will show how each one of those boxes is fraud. And what he did is fraud. Now, I also sent a mail fraud report. That's the actual mail fraud report itself for the postal inspector. And I actually included this time mail fraud details. These actually go into the mail fraud statutes and sort of almost written like a criminal complaint against them, where I sort of expound on the mail fraud the statutes and show why this pettifogger shyster attorney committed mail fraud. I also give them a copy of the envelope because they ask for certain codes and stuff on there, and I don't know what those bars mean and different numbers and stuff. So I just make a copy of the envelope, I show it to them, and I just say, see attached. And whatever information they need from the envelope, they can get. And I also give them a copy of the envelope. That's why I give them the envelope there. And I always send them an affidavit of status. You send the affidavit of status with everything you send out, you send the affidavit of status out. You don't want any confusion about who you are and where your rights came from. So you always send the affidavit of status out. And there's new little trick, little tool that I use here. This is called the to-do list, I call it, basically. Where this is going to be a checklist of everything you've got to do. And these are actually good to follow now. When I put them up here, they're going to be attached to this posting. It's going to go up on the site right after I get through the video. And you could do this with your cases when you're going after your pettifogger shyster attorney. And it's just an outline of where he's going, where you're going to move him, and where his career's going. Because as you keep moving down that list, it gets very perilous for this attorney. Because suddenly he's not worried about you and your $200 trash bill, so they say. He's worried about his insurance, and he's worried about keeping his bar card as you walk down this list. So this is their form. And here's what I'm talking about. This is the complaint, basically expanded. And I give his name, I give his bar number, and I state Michael Patrick Pierce violated Rule 8.4b, misconduct. And this is their exact wording. It's professional misconduct for a lawyer to commit criminal acts that reflect adversely on the lawyer's honesty, trustworthiness, or fitness as a lawyer in other respects. And I state, on or about 20th of July 2020, Pierce committed numerous state, federal, common law crimes that reflect adversely of his honesty, trustworthiness, and fitness to be a lawyer. Pierce violated the Pennsylvania Rules of Conduct. And this is what these Bar Association members are judged on. It's the professional rules of conduct. And each state has their own professional rules of conduct. And the main one, I don't want to go through all these. I'm going to go through just some of them. But the main one is Pierce forged a lien. Remember, we said the only way a lien could be created is if we had a trial and I lost, and it was a judge that I owed a debt to somebody, and I didn't pay the debt. Then they could come file a lien. But we skipped all that A, B, and C. We went right to D. He jumped right to D and forged a lien. So this is not a lien. This is called a simulation of legal process. This is not the legal process that I described, where complaint, summons, and a process server giving you the complaint and the summons. This is a simulation legal process. So then I spell out a lot of stuff here, and mainly remember this is about commit criminal acts. So I come down here and I cite these Pennsylvania criminal codes, because these codes apply to this attorney. And look, hey, look at that one right there, forgery. Pierce committed forgery under Title 18, 4101 by creating and filing an unverified, unadjudicated lien against my property. No one even verified that there's a lien, that there's a debt due. Nobody verified. And we never went to court over this, so it's unadjudicated. He did official oppression. He committed official oppression. Basically what that means is he's violating your rights. Official oppression is he's actually violating, he's leaning your rights, your unalienable rights. Then he's committing barratry. He's bringing a vexatious, frivolous suit against me because he filed it in the name of a corporate fiction that has no rights in my property, and neither does the attorney have rights who brought it. So that's barratry. I'm the only owner of the property. There's no mortgages on the property. I don't know anybody, anything on the property. I'm the only secure creditor on that property. So he's defrauding a secure creditor. That's who I am. That's who you are if you own your property. He's defrauding a secure creditor. And look, he's doing it by deceptive or fraudulent business practices. Because that's what he did. He's using fraudulent business practices because I have no contract with this guy to be administering my property. I have no contract with his client to be administering my property. Yet this man's trying to extort money from me. This is a deceptive and fraudulent business practice. He secured execution of documents by deception. Of course he did. He's telling the court that he has a lien on my property and we never had a trial. And I was never given due process. He doesn't have any lien. So he secured the execution of that document by deception. It's identity theft also what he did. I never gave him authority or the borough or the township of Aston to use my name or my property address for anything. Yet they're using my name and my identity, my identifying information they're using to extort money from me. That's identity theft. Okay. Also talked about mail fraud. These are the 3 statutes of mail fraud they hit. It's 18 U.S. Code 1341, frauds and swindle, 18 U.S. Code 1342, fictitious name or address, and 18 U.S. Code 876, mailing threatening communications. It's exactly what he's doing. He's threatening. He's mailing threatening communications. Hey, either pay us this money or we're going to do these bad things to you. Without any due process, without any trial, we're just going to do these bad things to you. And then you go into the federal crimes. These are the Title 18 federal crimes. Now, doesn't matter what state you're in, these all apply because these are federal crimes. You got 18241, conspiracy against rights. 18242, deprivation of rights under color of law. 1341, frauds and swindle. 1342, fictitious name or address. 71, concealment or removal or mutilation generally. This means of documents. 2073, false entries and reports of monies or securities. 18513, securities of the states and private entities. That's what this municipal corporation is, the Township of Aston. They're a private entity. 18514, fictitious obligations. 18876, back to where we're going here with the mail fraud, mailing threatening communications. And 181001, statements or entries generally, which basically means false statements, which he's making a ton of false statements. And then there's common law crimes this guy's committing. He's committing abuse of process. That's an abuse of the court's process. We talked about court process. You file a complaint, you get a summons, and you go hire a process server to go serve it to somebody. That's proper service of process. What he's doing is an abuse of process. What he's doing is a conspiracy. He's conspiring with this township of Aston to extort money from you. This law firm is conspiring with this private entity called the township of Aston to extort money from me. So that's conspiracy. It's constructive fraud. It's defamation of character. It's duress. It's flat out fraud. It's an infliction of emotional distress, and it's an invasion of privacy, and it's negligence. And I always back my stuff up. This is the declaration we're talking about, supported by declaration. This is pursuant to 28 U.S.C. 1746, Section 1. I declare under penalty of perjury under the laws of the United States of America that the foregoing is true and correct, executed on the 3rd day of the 5th month in the year of our Lord and Savior, 2021. Then I give him his deficiencies and irregularities. This is the document he filed with the court. And I go through and I box them and I number everything. And on the next page, for each number here, you're going to find a number here that explains why this is a fraudulent proceeding. Okay? So I go through that. And then I give him a copy of the actual mail fraud complaint. I want him to see his name on the mail fraud complaint. Because though he's probably not going to get that time, the 3 statutes I cited have, one has a 20-year term, the other has a 20-year term, and the other has a 5-year term. Not that he's going to get that, but listen, what he's doing is mail fraud. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Whether they're going to prosecute it, that's another thing. But what he's doing is mail fraud. There's no, I could walk into court and smack him in the head and prove it's mail fraud. There's no doubt. That's basically up to the postal inspector whether he's going to smack him in the head. But listen, it's a little disconcerting for these attorneys because they're not used to seeing the monkeys file a mail fraud complaint against them. So put the mail fraud complaint in there. This is the actual postal form, and it's always about your estate. Don't say it's about taxes, because if it's about taxes, that means you're a taxpayer. Okay? You're not a taxpayer. If you didn't sign any document claiming you're a taxpayer, you are not a taxpayer. Okay? So it's not about taxes. They can say it's taxes. It has nothing to do with me. It's about my estate. These people are making a fraudulent claim against my estate. And in here, this is the killer stuff you put in here. Michael P. Pierce created forged and falsified documents he used to threaten I, a man, in an attempt to extort money. And I just put the postal mail fraud codes in there that I cited above. Then we come into, this expands on the actual 3 mail fraud codes I was telling you about, the 181341 and the 181342 and the 8876. And I just go into detail here on why he meets these codes, these statutes, what he did meets these. So I just want to give the postal inspector a little meat to put his hook in. And I always give him a copy of the envelope because I said, I don't know what all these numbers are and what this stuff is. Let them figure that out. And I always give him my affidavit of status. So I'm going to end it with my affidavit of status. So I did one for him, okay, and then the very next day, they're partners. Pierce, the guy you just saw here, Michael Pierce, and this guy Paul Gordon Hughes, they're partners. So then the very next day, Mr. Hughes also got a bar grievance. And his number is going to be just slightly different because what he did is, where's we got there? Paul Gordon Hughes violated Rule 5.1, responsibilities of partners. He's a partner. Managers and supervisor lawyers. And it states it is professional misconduct for a lawyer to, and it gives you these different A, B, C, blah, blah, blah. A lawyer shall be responsible for another lawyer's violation of the rules of professional conduct, which we just addressed with Mr. Pierce. If the lawyer is a partner who has a comparable managerial authority in the law firm. Well, Mr. Hughes is obviously a partner, Pierce and Hughes. So he's responsible for his partner. And I go through, and it's basically what this is it's almost identical to what I have here for Mr. Pierce. And I just rebut it by just beef it up by saying, Hughes knew Michael Patrick Pierce filed his forged lien with the Delaware County Court of Common Pleas. So I'm basically just expanding that Hughes knew what Pierce was doing. These are the same sort of filings I have for Pierce, but I'm just expanding that Hughes knew. He knew exactly what Pierce was doing. Remember, he's a partner. He's responsible for what his partner's doing. And he gets the same complaint. Okay? Now, here's what I started doing. Let me see. This one's guys a little more extensive. Okay. So I call this the to-do list. This is Michael Patrick Pierce's. And this is a checklist of how to proceed. Mail fraud. Yep, filed it 5/4/2021. Sent it off. Securities fraud. Haven't filed it yet. When I do, I'll put a date in there, and I will be sure to give Mr. Pierce a copy of it because I want him to know what I'm doing to him. Notice of claim. This was sent back in August of 2020. He got that $350,000 claim filed against him. That was also supported by an affidavit of fact. And at that time, I don't think I submitted an affidavit of status with him at that time. I'm not sure. I don't think I did. So just to be sure, I sent him another affidavit of status today when I submitted the bar grievance. When I gave him the copy of the bar grievance, I also gave him an affidavit of status, so he's not confused as to who I am. And I also gave him a notice of deficiencies and irregularities. That was that boxed out document with the numbers on it, explaining why it's fraud. And then I also list. I'm just starting out here. I got 5. I could do maybe 7, 10, 12. There's all kinds of grievances he did. But I just started with number 1. And like Brett recommends doing, Brett said he files the one bar grievance, and then 31 days later, he files the next bar grievance. Because you want it to be, if you file them too close to each other, they're going to be considered the same event, like the same grievance. So if you file them 31 days apart, there's a good chance you're going to get counted as 2 separate incidents. So I'm going to do the old the death by 1,000 cuts. This is the old death by 1,000 cuts strategy. He's going to get this one 5-4, and then 6-4. He's going to get this one, and then 7-4. He's going to get that one. We're just going to keep moving down. Okay. While this is going on, while I'm waiting to file this second one, come Monday or Tuesday, he's going to get an actual forgery criminal complaint filed against him in the state of Pennsylvania. I'm going to file that. He's also going to get a copy of that, and I'm going to put a date on that. But I wanted to show you this because this is a roadmap of everything I'm going to do to this guy, and I want him to see it. Because if he thinks I'm BSing him, that I'm all huff and puff, I'm going to blow your house down. No. I've already filed a mail fraud complaint against you. I already filed a notice of claim against you. I already sent you affidavits. And once he sees this first criminal complaint come in too, he's going to get real nervous because if I get any of these to stick to him or these federal criminal complaints to stick to him, he's done. He's not an attorney no more. He's going to be a felon, okay? Not only is he not an attorney, he's going to have trouble getting a job. So now Mr. Petty Fogger Shyster is not going to be worried about my $200 trash extortion bill. He's going to be worried about his insurance rates. He's going to be worried about his bar card and being able to be an attorney. And then when I'm done with him, and I'm going to body slam him, Mr. Petty Fogger Shyster attorney, Michael Patrick Pierce, he's getting a little ride to federal district court for a civil action for a deprivation of rights. Because that's exactly what Mr. Pierce did here. Listen, I have a right. In Pennsylvania, there's two main court ones. You have two main jury ones you cite. It's Article 1, Section 6. It's a right to trial by jury is inviolate, which means it's permanent. Can't be taken away. It's permanent. Mr. Pierce didn't afford me a trial by jury here. He ran me into some little phony kangaroo administrative court. It's a problem for Mr. Pierce. He violated my rights. Okay, Mr. Pierce forged a lien. And we never had a trial. Mr. Pierce claimed there's a lien, and not only did he forge it, he attempted to impose it. So now Mr. Pierce has got a lot of big problems running here. And here's the beauty of this Title 42 1983 suit. By the time I walk through each one of these state and federal criminal complaints, these are going to get put right in this suit, okay? So in a way, I'm almost writing my federal suit, my 42 1983 suit, as I'm walking through each individual one. This might take me once every 2 or 3 days. I'll get one of these in. But as I complete it, it's going to translate perfectly into here because I'm going to fold all these state and federal criminal complaints into here. So Pearson Hughes Law Firm, they didn't have a real good week. Okay, they didn't have a great week this week. Uh, they the two partners just got bar grievance filed against them, and come Monday, Mr. Pierce is definitely going to have a criminal complaint, a forgery complaint filed against him. And then Mr. Pierce is going to have to decide how he wants to handle this. Because I'm going to keep running at Mr. Pierce. I know Mr. Pierce can't do anything now. He's going to be checkmated. But I'm going to deal with the law firm. I want to see if I can get a collection from them, a settlement, before we go here. Because when I come here, the number is going to be very, very big. So now the law firm's going to have a decision. Did he want to pay the smaller number, or do they want to come in here and get thumped over the head with the bigger number, where they're not going to be able to answer these criminal complaints? Because this guy actually did all these. I'm not making these up. He did these. He's guilty of all these crimes, these state and federal crimes. So this is part two. This is basically the first volley across the bow is the bar grievance. And I just wanted to show you how, moving you through this process of how I handle a petty Faggiolo debt collector law firm. And so next we're going to move on. The next video we'll do is going to be covering that criminal complaint, the forgery criminal complaint against Mr. Pierce. So Mr. Pierce is headed for a couple bad weeks coming up. So Mr. Pierce thought I was a monkey, and Mr. Pierce is figuring out real quick, ooh, this is not a monkey here. And here's the funny part. I filed these a couple days ago, and I filed the bar grievances, the one against Pierce 2 days ago, the one against Hughes, his partner, the day before. And this is the recovery firm that works with this law firm. This is Pierce and Hughes, and they're right in the same building. They're actually, one's on one floor, one's on the other floor, So this Municipal Resource Recovery Systems. See, here's all the municipalities they collect for. Township of Aston, and here's all the other townships and boroughs they collect for. So they work in tandem with each other. So these are the petty Faggiolo. It's first in your letter saying, hey, you owe us this money, you owe our clients this money, pay us, or we're going to turn it over to these guys, or our law firm. We're going to turn it over to our law firm, So here's the funny part. This is 2 days ago. This is a day ago. And I just filed a mail fraud complaint against the Barbara After, the one I mentioned in the first video, who sent the original letter out. They did this newest letter out. She's responsible for sending that letter out. So I sent her the mail fraud complaint. She got that emailed over to her, and I actually faxed it at the same time. And lo and behold, funny how this happens. Twice I've tried to fax it over to their number, and it's been 2 failed send attempts. Funny. She just got the email, and the fax started coming in. It looked like it was going through. Didn't fail right away. And it seemed like somebody pulled the plug or hit the stop button on the fax machine because they didn't want that fax. But it's not going to matter. She's got it emailed there, and they're going to have to turn that fax machine on sooner or later. And I'm just going to keep faxing it until it goes. So just want to give you the step 2 of how we're moving here. This is all real time. You're seeing how I deal with these people in real time. I don't, like I said, I do everything I tell you to do. I do myself. I don't espouse other people's theories. This is the stuff we do. And you'll see, there was a guy today had success filing affidavits and in a matter with something with a landlord was bothering for 18 months, and all of a sudden he filed affidavits into it, and lo and behold, the law firm wanted to settle the matter, and they went away. So that's why we do what we do here. But just keep your head up and just learn this process. This is you're creating chaos for these attorneys. These are the ones always coming at you. He's always the attorney. You have to run at him. Don't run from him. They're used to people running from them. People are afraid of attorneys. They don't know they're shocked when people run at them. And what you're seeing here is I'm running at this guy. And so he thought I was the hunted. Now he's being hunted by me. And I just started to hunt. So keep your head up and have fun with these guys. Take care, guys.